Will you please all rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all. It's quite a group we have here tonight. It's good to see. To join us in the Board of Trustees public session on August 21st. First item on the agenda is public comment, which we have quite a few here. So since the number of them, if you could please make sure you keep it to the 3 minutes. And some of you, I would imagine, are also here for the presentation. So if you could make it quickly on your comment, we'll get through those. First one on the list is Evelyn Conrad.
Good evening, Mayor Mike, trustees. A few weeks ago, one of the trustees asked your attorney what your responsibilities are, and so I'd just like to give you a small summary, if I may. You certainly are responsible to make sure that no one in your administration violates the Constitution, federal law, state law as it applies to the villages, and to village law. And I noted that you incorporated a piece of state law and made it a village law about the need for training. I assume that is for those members of your administration who know the village law by heart and have no idea there's anything else. Because of that, I have put 5 pamphlets there. They're not the complete list of New York state law that applies to the villages and that your boards and you are meant to enforce. I have the complete list in New York. I work more with it there. But I thought it might be an interesting point because when I spoke briefly to Mr. McFarland about rescission of a negative declaration, if there had been one voted, and our insistence that there be a positive declaration for 38 to 42 Job's Lane, I asked him what his understanding of secret was. He said, we have our experts for that. It happens that the experts in the public hearing had never even mentioned secret. So you see, you cannot pass along the responsibility. I see that you're trying to get some help from the Planning Commission on the procedures of the ARB. When I went to that public hearing, I suggested that they might also look at the Planning Board. One thing at a time, they said, but the two are intimately linked because both of those boards are misled about their mission. And I'm glad to see their attorney here at this time, because as you may recall, at the last meeting I said that he should be fired for cause because of the misinformation he gives to the boards about what their responsibilities are. So, about the responsibilities of the ARB. Sort of generally speaking, they're meant to preserve the desirable characteristics of street, neighborhood, or municipality. In our case, of course, that's the village. They are not the enforcers of the village zoning code, not in the least. That is something that the building department does. They are also not limited from considering size, which is a major factor in considering an application. And at the last meeting of the ARB, I offered the ARB a copy of a New York State decision of 2010, which is not precedential. It was simply meant to show that the particular case, let me just finish this point about size, which they ignore. A particular case, which, a 2006 case, which Mr. Robinson continuously mentions to them as saying that they do not have a right to consider size. Absolutely not true. Thank you. It's a very short time to try to get good government. So anyhow, those are some of the things that you should be familiar with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Next is Dubner. S. Dubner.
Yes,
Yep.
I'm here to hear about...
Do you want to just wait for the presentation? Is that, oh, okay, that's fine. Finnerty?
Same.
Same. Sally Van Allen?
I think I'm the same, too.
Okay.
Actually, before, do people realize there was a board presentation about leaf blowers and things tonight? Okay. So if you sign up for this public hearing, then you want to wait for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Hillary Woodward?
Yes, same.
Same. Jamie Banks?
Same.
Same. Stephen Jones?
Same.
You're making it too easy.
No, we're going to hear them later. Just defer by Christmas.
Robert Minus? Yes?
You are on the presentation. You're the first presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on the presentation.
Thank you.
Zachary Crawford?
I'll wait for the presentation.
Okay. Orson Cummings?
I'll wait for the presentation.
Ken Weinstein?
Ooh, we got a taker.
My name is Kenneth Weinstein. I'm at 111 Fox Hollow Lane. I know that the board and the village is very concerned about the water quality of Agawam Park, Lake Agawam. And I saw this ad in a recent glossy, and my question is, how close can you have a lawn to the edge of Lake Agawam? And are there rules on setback? And are there rules on fertilization? Obviously, that's a very green lawn, probably 5 feet from the edge of the water.
Actually, it's more than that. And this particular person, he formed the homeowners association around Lake Agawam, and he was instrumental in putting up a planting plan all along the lakefront with plants that take the nitrates out. So although it only looks like 5 feet, it's a lot bigger than that. It's a lot larger than that. Anyway, so.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Gregory Dillelian? Okay, did I say that right or close? Okay. Edward Krikorian? Same. Don Mahoney?
Same.
James Carlton?
Same.
Doreen Johnson? And Anthony Stevens? Okay. Boy, I hope we have that presentation. All right, moving ahead on to board presentations.
Oh, actually, anybody who doesn't want to speak about that, have a public comment for 3 minutes?
Public comment that wasn't signed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, I,
Name and address, please.
okay, my name is Penelope Wright. I live at 26 Layton Avenue, and I believe I'm here about the same subject as other people, although I won't be staying very long, but I would like to make a quick comment, which is that I'm very much in favor of trying to mitigate noise and, or is this not appropriate to say?
No, it is actually, if you're not going to be around for the public hearing.
I won't be around.
Okay, so you can say it, yes.
I'm a recreational walker, long-time walker, and I find that my walking route is fairly determined every single day by the location of gas-powered leaf blowers. And so I adjust my route and I walk, but it doesn't seem to be the way we really want to live in this village or how we want to enjoy our walks. If there's something that could be done, if we could switch to electric leaf blowers or regulate strictly the times that leaf blowers are happening, there are, across the street leaf blowers working at cross purposes. It's just a crazy little situation here, it seems to me. So I want to put my 2 cents in for hoping that something can be done about gas-powered leaf blowers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment that didn't sign up?
And that is not related to any of the public hearings and would like to speak? Okay.
Okay. So moving ahead to the board presentations, the first presentation we have is the Irving Homeowners Association in reference to parking.
Good evening. May I give you some photographs?
Sure.
2 sets. Okay. The same. Okay. That's right. I represent the owners of the Irving Homeowners Association, and this is my support group over here. If you could stand so that we can all, so you have a sense of who we are.
Could you give us your name, sir?
I'm sorry, my name is Robert Minus, M-I-N-E-S-S. I live at 7 First Neck Lane.
Thank you.
Several years ago, the town added approximately 25 diagonal parking spaces in front of the association, just south of Hill Street along First Neck Lane. We appear before you tonight requesting that these parking spots be removed, as they have created unforeseen and undesirable consequences. Owing to the parking spaces, we do not have the benefits of the serenity and safety that our neighbors have. Signs forbidding parking are posted every 100 yards or so along First Neck Lane, starting at Great Plains Road. This protects our neighbors from intruders, trash, and noise. We are not so fortunate. There are days during the summer when some of the parking spots are occupied for 24 hours at a time. People have even been seen sleeping in their cars overnight. Our main points are financial, quality of life, and safety. Financial. First, we ask you to examine the reasons that the village requires beach permits. We assume that it is to reduce the inflow of day trippers whose presence changes the character of the village, strains its resources, and denies a revenue stream. On any summer's day, the parking lot outside our property is filled with day trippers who use the parking spaces as staging areas on their way to Cooper's Beach. They are freeloaders who deny the village a significant source of funds. Let's do the math. We assume that if there are only 5 cars a day that do this, to avoid the parking fee, and this is a significant understatement because there are many more that do that each day, but this is a reduced number. This represents a loss of approximately $17,500 to Cooper's Beach over the summer's season. Our point is that day trippers have an easier time accessing Cooper's Beach because of the parking spots in front of our association. It's financial. Quality of life. The parking area has been a refuge for livery services such as Uber. They are often there until dawn, awaiting their clients who are at nightclubs. They leave their engines running, they often have their radios playing, and their conversations are loud enough to be heard by the association owners at all hours of the night. When the police have been called, they have said that there is nothing that can be done about it. Though First Neck Lane is a residential street with no other parking areas, these are used by commercial vans throughout the day, creating an atmosphere that is not in keeping with family life. And finally, safety. In the past, our homes have felt safe and secure, even though they are only latch gates to enter the grounds. And you can see that there's a picture of the latch gate there. That is not true today. Now, because many of the people who park in this area are not from Southampton, they show little concern for our private property and even walk through the gates and onto our grounds. In one case, a man even knocked on the owner's door and asked to use the bathroom. As day trippers unload their strollers, bicycles, they stray into the middle of the street. They could well be at physical risk from speeding ambulances and fire trucks that make the sharp turn off Hill Street. If you look at that picture at the very end, you can see where Hill Street begins, and it's right exactly where the parking spaces begin. Our proposal could well prevent a serious accident. In conclusion, we are appealing to you, the Mayor and the Board of Trustees, to reconsider the use of parking spaces along First Neck Lane. There are, after all, sufficient parking spots not far away in the area around, say, the Little Red Restaurant. They could accommodate these vehicles. We are confident that our proposal will be advantageous to the village. We are confident that our proposal will be advantageous to the association. We thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection.
Oops.
I hope the connection isn't you. Thank you.
That was a good improv.
Is that a veto or?
By your phone, perhaps, anyways.
Would anybody else like to make a comment about the Irving, or is there?
It was my house that they tried to get into.
Why don't you, if you can come up to the,
I'm the person whose house they tried to get into. It was really scary.
yeah.
I was sort of,
What's your name, please?
Ann Jeffrey, 15 First Neck. It was hard, you know. He was banging on the door and he was aggressive, and I was by myself, and I had to shove him out the door, and it just, you know, we've never had stuff like that where we live. It's always been very peaceful, and now, you know, you go outside and they're changing their bathing suits and going to the beach on the shuttle, and it's just a whole different world. But the safety issue, from as far as I was concerned, I got really involved in it when the guys were not trying to get into my house. And there was something, you know, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any others would like to make a comment? I will tell you, we are pretty aggressively, this entire board, looking at the parking issues in the village as a whole. There's a number of areas that seem to be of contention, and obviously yours is one of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board? Or?
I just want to make a comment. I'm one of the people who gets upset. Oh, sorry. Who gets upset over the shuttle taking people down to the beach for free. Because I feel that people, not only do they park where you live, they park in the parking lot behind Job's Lane, the south side of Job's Lane, and they get picked up at the park. We don't have a walk-on fee at Cooper's Beach, which I would like to do because that might change that situation. We talked about it last year. There are other beaches west that have a walk-on fee. We do not have a walk-on fee. So people have figured that out, that they can park in their parking lots, get on the free shuttle, go down to Cooper's Beach, and use it for free. It's not right, and I really will have to look into that again next year. It may change it.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Answer that.
Aren't you supposed to say something? Is this your homeowners association?
Yeah. Any other comments in regards to that parking issue? Next, I guess this is what everybody's been waiting for, is Nassau Suffolk Landscaping Association, Pat?
Yeah, we just...
I don't know. This looks like a hostile crowd to me. I'm not sure I want to be up here.
That's a very friendly crowd.
I want to thank you for coming here and giving the presentation.
You're welcome.
You know, and
It probably couldn't have been a worse day. We were up in Westchester today giving a apprentice class for landscapers to the group up there, so we were kind of busy, but
Yeah.
this is important. Little background about NSLGA. It has been around for 50-something years. This logo is seen on trucks of people who are members. What it means is that they are licensed, they're insured, and supposedly professional. Our association does training for pesticides. We do training for blowers. We have a card that we give out that says whoever the person is has completed the NSLGA blower training on a date. The training includes half throttle versus full throttle, info on new quieter blowers, when to use and when not to use. What we do is we have probably 8 different blowers, manufacturers come in. They demonstrate their blowers. We have done things with the battery operated. We just did one over at Clark Gardens, and I know that you people just had a demonstration done. In Clark Gardens, we had gas-powered blowers, an Echo gas-powered blower. We had meters there testing the sound. The gas-powered was quieter than the battery operated, by far. It wasn't a little bit, it was by far. Both at full throttle. Is the battery operated equipment a thing of the future? Yes, it certainly is. However, it is not now. And I know you just had a demo. It's very expensive. It does not do the job. It's great for homeowners. It doesn't work for landscapers. Our association also puts out a Hire the Professional pamphlet, which I'll leave some. You might have them at your desk, I don't know. It tells the reasons why people should use a professional and not one of these people who yesterday they were selling cars, got fired, found a lawnmower in their garage, and all of a sudden they're a landscaper. They're not a landscaper. They haven't been trained. They don't have insurance. If something happens on your property, you're responsible. You pay. You will find that you're better. The association has about 1,500 members. Your better landscapers are members. I don't want to say illegals, because that indicates something else, but your unlicensed landscapers are not members. We don't accept them. We try to train them. We try to get them in. We try to give them a reason to join, to help them out. So I also have with me Rich Mylander, who is our past executive board chairman, who knows a lot more about blowers than I do. And I'm sure that some of these people, there's no reason for people to get off of a truck, and I know they do it. I live in a condo. Truck pulls in, 3 guys jump off, start up their blowers, and for the day, they walk around with this blower. It's absolutely crazy. There's no reason for it. We've worked with so many towns, and we've come up with no weekends. We've come up with time things. You can't take the equipment away from these guys. They have to have the equipment to work. You can't take care of these properties, these $1 million properties that you have out there with shears. You have to have the mowers, you have to have the weed trimmers, you have to have the blowers. It's not the blowers that are your problem. So, Rich, can you add anything to that as far as the equipment goes? We would be more than happy to work with you people to try and come up with something amicable for everybody, and I know you have a hostile crowd. This is which one?
It looks, I'm looking at the room, and it looks like you probably have a bunch of your members. Am I going to presume correctly? I can look,
My name is
I
Richard
can see by the
Meilander.
faces.
My company is Lawn Patrol of Long Island, and I live at 35 Jew Drive, Eastport, New York. And as Mrs. Patty said, we do the blower training, and as a landscaper myself, I cannot afford not to use this piece of equipment. Time restraints, if this is really a big issue, time restraints would benefit both the town or the village and the landscapers. Yeah, over in Nassau, we do a lot of work in Nassau, and the village of Southampton, Sands Point, they have time restraints on when you can work. There's no work on Saturdays in that village, except for exceptions. You have to sign up and get a permit to do that on a Saturday, which they will allow, maybe for tree removal or extensive pruning or something that has to be done during a Saturday. But the other time restraints on there are from 8 to 5. And that has worked well in those guys for up in that area, which is, large properties. And, we would be willing to go with something like that, except, instead of a complete ban. I mean, if they're talking about noise, if they get rid of the blower, you're still going to have noise from the mowers, the weed whackers, the hedge trimmers. Then it's not going to alleviate the noise. So that's what I would think. Some time restraints on when we can work. I think that would benefit both the village and the landscapers out here.
Can I ask you something while it's on my mind? Because obviously it's a hot topic. And banning them and use, and again, in the previous life, I worked in landscaping. I worked at the Meadow Club, the largest grass tennis court in the world. So, leaf blowers have been around a long time. What I think as legislators, what we find is the issue, or me personally, I'll speak for myself, what I find the problem, and speaking actually with Kimberly about this as well, there is, in existence has been proven a health concern with noise and emission, whatever, but just that alone, that aside, the issue that we have out here with the noise and the use of it is, again, they've been around a long time. They're not a new machine, but it seemed to be in the past, it used to be used for blowing the leaves in the fall, or leaves got sucked up, or they were used to blow into the center of the yard and they got sucked up like I used to do. What it seems what you have now, and this is what I'm trying to wrestle with, how we eliminate this or mitigate this, is it seems like we have the height of arrogance and decadence, where I see a guy blowing debris off a cobblestone apron leading into a road and grass clippings off the lawn. I don't, how do you battle that? Is that the homeowner battle? Because that is where when the guy drops off and I see the 4 packs lying on the ground, there's no damn leaves on the lawn. It's to blow, and again, when I see them blowing the stuff off their lawn, off the apron, into the street, our village street, which then our guys come and clean up, again, that's where I see where a lot of the issues come from.
One of the major
Or some of
problems that you have with your homeowners,
Yeah, if
okay?
you could-
One of the major problems you have with your homeowners is that they don't want to see clippings on their lawn. After the landscaper is gone,
As I said,
they
it's
want it to look
arrogance,
like the
yes,
golf
it's
course.
arrogance and decadence. How do I
so-
battle that without getting rid of the machine?
When Madison Avenue starts making grass clippings on your lawn gauche, when Scott
you mean like
says...
this picture?
That's it. When Scott says that the mulch is good for your lawn, which it is,
Ironically, yes, they're blowing it off and it's good for the
then
lawn.
maybe the people will realize that we should leave the clippings on the lawns,
No,
and they
they're
won't be
blowing
doing
the
this.
clippings into the lawn, because what happens is they mow the lawn, the clippings are on the lawn,
Right.
it dries on the lawn, and the people don't want that because it kills the grass underneath, so they're there blowing and making sure all the blades are going down in between. That's what's going on there, and there's an army of them walking down a huge property, 4 or 5 of them across blowing at the same time.
So We do a lot of
Double
commercial,
cut,
we
that
do a
takes
lot of
time.
commercial
They should
maintenance.
be double cutting or triple cutting. That's what
We
they should
use
be
mulching
doing.
mowers.
You either
That's
mulch or double. I
noisy
used to
too.
double cut.
The mulching mowers, we go over the lawn, we go over the lawn a couple of times, we're not blowing the lawn off. The mulching mowers take care of that. The only thing we're using the blowers for is blowing off the walkways after we get done edging and the driveways. And blowing up the street, and we pick up the
Well, they're
street.
not.
That's what most of the professionals that I know, that's what we do. We do not take a
Actually, I agree
blower.
with you that, because I know a lot, I see a lot of professionals, I know them.
We do not take a blower to blow the grass off because we already mulched it.
It's the ones who weren't members of the organization that are really the abusers of this, so.
After you ban these blowers because they make so much noise, is your next step banning mowers? Because they make so much noise?
Yes. No, that's that's one of my issues, is once you start somewhere, where does it stop? And it's establishing a precedence. But we have to do something, because, I mean,
I agree with that,
it
but
is
I
an
mean,
ubiquitous.
Like I say, I want to say that probably 80% of the towns that we've worked with, and we've worked with so many of the incorporated villages on the island, they've come up with a time thing.
The time is
You know,
what
I mean,
you find to be the
who
best
wants to
thing.
come home from work and do a barbecue and hear the equipment? I don't care what equipment it is.
Right.
You know, so if you put a time thing on it, and Don's probably going to hate that, but, you know, so be it. It's better than not having your equipment. You know,
Well,
you're
that's
gonna
really,
have
we're
to
trying
learn
to
live with it.
find something, you said it, and even Don, a lot of people in the industry have admitted, they know, you said it yourself, the future, the way, it's going to happen, we know, it's just, how do you, it's like emissions laws or other laws that don't pass, how do you phase into it without damaging the industry at the same
The
time?
other thing I don't understand with
I
these
understand.
villages, why don't you have a landscaper's license?
We discussed that.
It keeps these guys that are doing work on the side or unlicensed or no insurance, it keeps them off of your streets, and that's the biggest part of your problem. I don't care
Pat,
what town it
You
is.
had mentioned that before, the license issue.
I couldn't believe you didn't have a license when you
And
said that.
the board, along with the attorney, went back to look to see, we used to have a license in the village of Southampton, and then it was rescinded a number of years ago. But
We should
now
look into
we're looking back into it. But also, your organization, what do you do for education-wise? Because so many times I'll see guys out there with a leaf blower, and it's sort of like, it reminds me of a guy that's got a Hemi in his Dodge truck, and he's at a stoplight. He's got to rev
Rev it
that
up.
thing up. And so many times I've seen landscapers go into an area, the head guy goes in, and they're mowing the lawn like crazy, and the guy with the leaf blower is standing outside in the road just firing it off so that everybody thinks he's doing something, and
I agree.
I think a lot of the issues that we have with noise violation and landscapers should be self-enforcement, if nothing else.
We, as an association, would be willing to come out here and do a training for your landscapers out here, if you have someplace that we can do it. It might just open somebody's eyes to find out that, I've been doing it this way forever, I've been in business for 20 years, you're going to tell me how to use a blower? I mean, that's ridiculous. But it just might open their eyes and say, hey, I can use this at half throttle, or I can use it.
Plus, when we have these trainings, we do explain to them how some of these villages and townships are enforcing these laws, and they have to abide by these things and use some more common sense on this. And a lot of these guys, they start to realize, hey, you can't just, you can't do business the way it used to be. You have to be a little more respectful of the neighbors. So we're getting there. We're not all the way there, but we're getting there. We're making some progress. I think that's it.
Pat, when we met with you the first time, and we want to thank Don Mahoney for bringing you in, we had a very long meeting, and you really taught us a lot about best practices. You had also said that you have a seminar coming up discussing the merits of shifting to electric in Riverhead in the next couple of months.
We're actually doing it in New Hyde Park.
Okay.
At Lifco, which is a dealer He offered his place, and I guess the same reps that, I forgot your name. Rich had do the demo for you guys, is going to do a demo for the association. So, you know, we're trying. Like we were saying on our way in, the guys love the gas-powered chainsaws. I mean, they're...
Electric.
I'm sorry, electric, battery-powered. They love them, but the blowers, not so much.
They're improving them, though, tremendously.
They will, and it's a wave of the future, and eventually, like everything else changes, that's going to change too.
I think
Not tomorrow.
everyone here is probably concerned about the noise pollution, which is why most people are here, but there's also gas pollution. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, a lot of these guys are filling these gas-powered pieces of equipment and spilling it. They're spilling it on driveways, they're spilling it on lawns, they're spilling it, and, our water supply comes from the ground.
Right.
So, I mean, that in itself should maybe make us think we can't use this, because if you multiply that by how many people that are doing this within our community, it's huge. And how many years this has gone on, it's unbelievable when you think about it.
By the same token, they do safety in a gas station, so.
A lot of the new gas cans have those spill-proof nozzles on them where you actually have to push the button, but it fits right into those small tanks, and as soon as it comes up, it lifts up. It's also a DOT requirement because you're supposed to have them all capped up when you're driving. So by having these certain spouts on the gas can, you're abiding by the law by the DOT, and it does help reduce spillage.
I also want to level set a comment. I mean, many of us spoke with many of the landscapers that are from this village prior to coming to this meeting tonight, and I have never heard so many sincere people tell me they want to work with the broader community. They want to be part of the solution. We're all one community. We're all smart. We all have good common sense. And many people expressed having a dialogue beyond this meeting to figure it out in a good way. I don't want there to be a view that there's hostility, because I did not hear that in the many discussions I had with many people prior to this meeting. And I thank you for continuing along that vein.
And if you decide to have another meeting, we'll be here. We'll do
Thank
whatever
you.
we can.
Thank
to
you,
help.
Pat.
Okay?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Words?
I constantly stress that without a doubt the village is going to look at licensing for contractors in the village, and we've got to determine why that was eliminated a number of years back. But I think all of you obviously have a sincere interest on trying to mitigate the impacts of landscaping in the community, or you wouldn't be here tonight. You would totally ignore us. And so many times I'll get a complaint and I'll go out and I'll check, and sure enough, there's 4 guys sitting there with it's usually leaf blowers or electric hitch clippers, or gas hitch clippers, that people complain about. And 90% of the time, the guys aren't doing anything. They're just running these machines and standing there. And, if you have management that goes out on each truck or each group of people, you really should be stressing to them to be aware that there are people in the neighborhood who have issues with noise, and, don't have your guys standing there with the machines running when you aren't using them. You probably save a lot of money in gas, but that often I see that constantly in the village. Any other comments from trustees?
I just want to, I think there's a lot to figure out here. There was a period of time where we're a village of less than 7 square miles, and the landscapers are everywhere. So it's not even that you have noise in one corner of the village, but not in the other corner of the village. And at one point, I thought, why don't we carve up the village? And on Monday, the landscapers work in this area, and on Tuesday, they work in this area. At least you could get away. It's almost like helps day off, you know what I mean? So, and I still think that's a good idea, because even if you have electric, you still have noise. So, I don't know, maybe we should talk about that. The other issue that we have are the vehicles, because the vehicles are parked both sides of the street. You've got to go around the vehicles. It's dangerous. It's dangerous in a car. It's dangerous on a bicycle. It's dangerous pushing a carriage. So we have to figure that out. We've talked about making parking on one side of the street, which is where it should be. So north-south running streets would have to be parked east or west. We have to figure that out. East-west streets should be north-south. We have to figure that out. We're talking about that, which I think would make it less dangerous. I mean, especially in the areas where it's everywhere, but I think on the streets where you have the smaller lots, meaning north of Hill Street, if you get enough of those vehicles there, you really can't even get around them, especially if one's on the east or west side of the street. You can't get around them, and it's dangerous. So anyway, we are talking about that as well.
But it seems you all want to have licensing. I mean, how many of you landscapers here tonight that would like to see some form of village licensing? There you go.
With enforcement.
With enforcement, that's good. Yeah. That's really interesting. That's great, because I think a lot of the issues that you're being blamed for are not necessarily the group that's here and present. I think a lot of the issues, including some of the parking issues, are guys that are coming in and picking up a half a dozen lawns or so in the village.
Well, we don't have parking restrictions, so
Right.
of course there would be no reason for them not to be able to park the way they're parking. We have to create that because they're parking all over the place.
Restrictions for the construction workers? We are.
Yeah.
No, but if you had a parking sign like parking on the east or west side of the street, they'd have to be on one side of the road.
Come down my street on Plant Street and see how.
I'm not just saying the estate area, I'm saying everywhere.
The comment Trustee McGann is mentioning is one issue that is clear to all service people, not just landscapers.
Right.
Is that, again, there used to be a couple mowers, there used to be a little wire trailer. Now the four-wheel, whatever, the two-wheel, four-wheel aside, the trailer's enclosed, and they're used for storage as not just transport. So when you have three of them on one side lined up and two on the other, you create a slalom course for. So that we've heard a lot about, and that's what Trustee McGann is talking about, from all the tradesmen. It is an issue because the equipment has gotten larger, and the storage and transporting devices for these equipment has gotten larger. And that's what, perhaps one option is to say, okay, if you're heading down the road, all service people are on one side of the road, so at least one clear path. That's been mulled around, I mean, you got a lot of landscapers here. What are some thoughts?
Well, we want it. I want to go through and then add comments or.
I think that if we do a comment now, we'll be here until tomorrow morning, but there's another public section here, so if you have a comment from a representative or somebody that you'd like, that'd be fine.
I mean, people sign up for public comment and deferred for this. You've heard a lot of stuff. You actually had a group speak on your behalf. Is there anyone out there who has something different to add to?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Village Trustees. Don Mahoney, 46 Harvest Lane, Southampton Village. We had a very positive meeting earlier in the season with Mayor Irving, Trustee Allen, Village Attorney Wayne Bruin, Village Administrator, and representatives from the association. Our goal is to work with you guys to create something that works for everybody. last Friday night at 7:42, I called the landscaper who was at my neighbor's house. And I said, I'm trying to go in the pool with my kids. I'm trying to enjoy the evening. It's almost 8 o'clock. Shut it down. Those of us that run legitimate licensed insured businesses that are paying overtime, all the federal and state taxes, we cannot make money paying overtime to cut grass. Unless it rains for 3 or 4 days in a row, it's generally not our guys that are out there at 8 o'clock at night. You guys need to come up with licensing, enforcement, and we'll use the word unlicensed, uninsured, not illegal contractors, to separate that immigration issue, which is not what we're talking about. Enforce it. I don't want to pay more fees, but I'd be happy to pay a license fee if you enforce it. We have licenses in East Hampton, Southampton, town. They're a joke. I pay them because if I have to take someone to court and they have a good attorney, that's the first question, are you licensed? The Suffolk County Home Improvement. But nobody enforces it. So why have it if you're not going to enforce it? But if you guys can come up with work hours that are reasonable, enforce it and license it, I think everybody in this room would come down and be happy to write you a check. It's all the unlicensed, uninsured guys that are killing our industry. They're killing the revenue of our industry. And there's no enforcement. I'd invite the 5 of you to pick a Thursday afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. I'll pick you all up right in front. Let's pick a neighborhood. Let's drive around. Let's get out of the car and say to Joe Landscaper, where's your Suffolk County Home Improvement license? Or whatever, where's your Southampton town? Where's your DEC certification for putting down chemicals? We talk about all the pollution. Absolutely. What you guys may not realize is every one of us that are licensed has to send a report in by February 1st every year to Albany for every registered product we used that the DEC thoroughly reviews, and if they find minor discrepancies, they will call you for an explanation. So we are for enforcement, for licensing, for leveling the playing field. And I invite you, seriously, I'll pick you up. Let's take a ride. And I guarantee you 50 to 60% of the guys we're going to stop, if you allow us to stop and ask, are not going to have any type of documentation. Documentation meaning licensing, not immigration status. The other thing that Trustee McGann talked about is going with the battery operated. You need now charging stations. Thousands of dollars in electric. I don't know how everybody's facilities are. Do they even have the proper amperage if you're going to put something in? We're going to run batteries. What happens when they go dead? What happens to the disposal? We need more electric to charge them. You're burning fossil fuel. You talk about fuel and emissions to get electric to our offices. So there's a big trickle-down effect. And then what you're saying is we're going to need 2 full fleets of equipment. We're going to need a battery to work a couple months. And you've all admitted that they don't work in the spring and fall, I think, at least in the meeting we had. Mm-hmm. So now we need a whole full fleet of gas power. Where's the money coming from? I mean, we're not making that kind of money to do this. It's, are we going to get rebates? I mean, we have Toyota Priuses. We get government rebates when we buy them. Or is the village or someone going to offset the cost? I mean, myself alone is going to be close to $60,000.
We're trying to find, as you know, potential funding.
It's not feasible. I got 40-something families that rely on me to feed them, and if I got to spend $60,000, somebody's going to have to go. It's economics because we have all these unlicensed, uninsured people inundating our village. So I'm going to speak for almost everybody because the people that I spoke to, we are for licensing, we are for work hours, but you need enforcement, and that's what we are begging you to do. Put a license in place, enforce it, and enforce it with stiff penalties. First occurrence, $500. Second, $1,000. $1,500. Those of you that have fire and burglar alarms, every time you get a false alarm and the police come, you get a bill, and it escalates throughout the year. Do the same thing. You're going to bring in a heck of a lot of revenue for this village, and you're going to make all of us that run legitimate, insured, licensed companies very happy. We want to work with you. You can't take the tools away, but enforce hours and enforce who's using the equipment. Make part of your licensing, you need to have the blower class.
Well, Don, let me clarify one thing. We aren't taking any tools away. I mean, we aren't looking to put any of you guys in a financial bind. You know, we've been looking at electric power only because a lot of the equipment seems to be generating in that direction. And, you know, it's our due diligence to go and look at it. Doesn't mean that we're going to require it, but it's...
Absolutely, and it is the way of the future, as Pat said, but it's not there yet.
Right.
It's like, you know, computers were and everything else. The technology will get there.
Yep.
And when it's cost-effective and from a production standpoint effective, I think we'd all go with it. But right now, it's not there. And then, you know, your constituents, do they want to pay more? Because it's going to take us that much longer because the equipment's not as efficient? And or we're going to have to sweep the patios? We do that on a couple jobs where the clients are willing to pay for it. But your normal taxpayer resident is not going to pay X an hour in labor. You know, so there's a big trickle-down effect. But we're all for working with something to come to an amicable agreement. Because as much as I make a living with this, as I said the other night, I go home, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, I don't want to hear it. So I get it. I get it at that hour of the day when you're trying to wind down and relax. But with enforcing working hours, enforcing licensing, and coming up with something that's amicable to everybody, I think almost everybody in this room would support that. And that is our goal.
Don, if you could help us focus in on the summer. We're up to the hundreds now in complaints from people in the village, and it's different people. It's not the same person 20 times, although there is one person who might have. Having said that, in all seriousness, people have said they don't want to live here anymore. They view this as Noise Hampton. And they said, I don't have a quality of life. I get up today, and it's the landscaper who rules my day. I'm lucky if they're not here. Now, I totally agree with you. If you're going to shift and do the right thing, you should be at an advantage, and other people who are not should be at the disadvantage. You should be building your business and making more money and investing in all the right stuff. That's how it works. But your client base is the village, and they need to help you too. I mean, I'm hearing of very unreasonable expectations from people that say, I want my lawn to look like, you know, a golf course, and I don't want a single leaf in my hedge. But a lot of people work at home now. A lot of people are retiring here. A lot of people are taking long weekends here. And, you know, I don't know if we can just, you know, 24/7, Monday through Friday, I get what you're saying, having restrictions, but people really, they don't have enjoyment in there. They don't have a quality of life here. And that's scaring.
Our base has changed in the last 20 years massively. Your resident, your taxpayer. And with that, demands and expectations have changed. So it's a double-edged sword.
Plus, we have more hedge. Yeah. But Don, I can't say how much I appreciated you rallying up a lot of the folks in the village who have grown up here. I know some of you have had businesses that are 30 years old, 85 years old. I mean, we're all one community, but we do have to figure it out. And I understand your point about funding. It is a business, and you need to make money. But you know, there's education, as Pat pointed out. There's technology, and there's got to be some collaborative solution that we put together. And maybe we just start in the summer. But having 4 or 5 guys go up and down on these properties, it's just too much. And it's not, I know it's not your reputable firm.
Oh, well, the problem, we're not going to pay 5 guys with overhead to sit on a blower.
Right.
I mean, if I have a truck with 3 guys in it, there's not 3 blowers in it.
Right.
Because it's an overhead, and it's an expense, and it's an inland marine insurance policy, and it's, you know, a mechanic to maintain it. So, you know, we want to work with you, and the people that are in this room are all legitimate business people that pay the workers' comp, GL, auto liability, probably have umbrellas, licensed with the DEC, and they all want to work with you. We want to see you come up with licensing to get rid of the unlicensed, uninsured operators. And I think you'll clean up a lot of, especially in the late evening stuff. You know, it's a guy that may have another job that's working for cash. You know, again, these guys can't pay time and a half at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night and make money. So we definitely want to work with you. We want to be proactive. And when the equipment's there, I mean, we're going to Kentucky to the big power equipment show at the end of October to see if anything new came out this year, because it's getting there. But on a commercial operation, unfortunately, it's not there. It's just not there yet, but it will be. And when it's there, we'll be happy to use it. I mean, we have a couple setups right now already that we use, but for very specific applications. It doesn't work in the broad spectrum yet. It will, but it's not there. Thank you.
But Don, I just want to, before you sit down, let you know that this board here looks to you guys for direction, because I'm still a strong believer that it's all of you out there that are working day to day. You want to keep your jobs, so you don't want to drive everybody out of the village. You know, it's you need to protect your own business, and you need to give us ideas how we can help you do that.
Licensing?
Yep.
Enforcing work hours? Let's take a ride. I'm very serious. I'm not being sarcastic.
No, I will.
I want to pick
I will.
all you guys up on a Thursday afternoon, and you can pick a neighborhood. And we'll just pull over and say, hey, Dave Rayner. Yeah, I'm licensed.
Uh-oh, what?
Hey, Mark Anletti. Yeah, I'm licensed and insured. Hey, Joe, what are you talking about? That's what you're going to get. You're going to get guys that say yes, 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 and guys that give you blank stares. And I think you'll see the percentage is not really level, unfortunately.
No, those are great ideas, Don. Actually, when you brought those up, meeting with them, that was some of the most constructive stuff
So when
we've
you wanna
had
go for
to
a
date.
ride?
So, but remember, the idea,
Thursday.
even when we want to implement something, we do want to keep it simple, because the last thing as a legislative board we want to do is
Simple
we don't want
work
to mandate.
hours, licensing, and enforcement.
Okay.
It's really, really simple. But without the enforcement, it's just all a waste of time.
It's revenue.
And that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Well, I think we've gotten a lot of input from all of you, and I really appreciate you all coming out. That was good. Yeah.
Anyone else step up?
Yeah, we'll keep it short, but yes, if you want to.
Thanks. Orson Cummings, 57 Walnut Street. Thank you very much. And Don, thank you very much for everything you said, as well as to the landscape group that came and spoke. I think that if there's one thing very clear, even from what I'm going to speak to, it's just that licensing seems to be a really good idea. And if it's people who are local, like, from what I'm going to say, I have a difference of opinion on a few things, but these are friends I surf with, people I know from town. All of us want the same thing, which is a healthy, functioning village with people making money to live here, and for some of us to enjoy the community a little more and be able to work here for what we do. So just very briefly, I just wanted to tell you that I got caught up in this because I'm a writer, so I work at home. And it got to the point where, it's 4 hours a day. I get up to go to work, and you can't get away from the sound of, really, the gas-powered leaf blower in particular is unique. So one of my disagreements is that I think that particular machine is special for what it can do to upset people and what it can do in terms of pollution. And that's why a lot of towns are, forced to get to the point where they ban them, because they're just really hard to deal with. And I agree that there are these giant estates who want every blade of grass gone, and so they need to use these things to get rid of them. And they're uniquely awful. So, I finally, to the point where I couldn't, my livelihood at home is being jeopardized, and I either have to live somewhere else, or I'm not going to, So I just got caught up in it, and I asked a few people what they thought. Next thing you know, I got 109 signatures to ban them. So, I'll just leave them here. And I'm not asking everyone to say, let's hurry up and ban them, because I understand, then what do you do about the hedge trimmer? Because then if somebody uses a gas-powered hedge trimmer, it's your whole day. So you don't want to start banning everything and making things more complicated. That said, the gas-powered leaf blower is unique. Today, for 4 hours, it was gas-powered leaf blowers from about 10 to about 1 or 2 when I was at home working. And finally, in the late afternoon, I went to Wyandanch to take a break, and they were leaf blowing at the beach above at the house, so I couldn't get away from it. And it is it's kind of funny. People laugh, and it is sort of funny, but it's not, because it drives you crazy. And then you're like, well, if I really am still fighting the economics to live here, young people can't live here, a lot of us can't live here, we're being forced away, and you're always struggling, and you're staying to listen to this thing all day, you're like, well, maybe this is ridiculous. Maybe I shouldn't live here anymore. And that seems absurd. And I don't mean any disrespect or lack of appreciation for my friends who work in the business. I also happen to know they're really terrible for people who work with these machines. So the part I want to disagree with respectfully is I went to the demo where Southampton Town showed what they're doing and what these machines are capable of. And I know I don't know as much as Don, and I respect Don's opinion. But I watched them show what these machines could do, and I spoke to the workers operating them. These guys were all really happy. Number one, they weren't breathing those fumes all day. They didn't have to wear headphones. Their trucks weren't full of gas. And generally speaking, they said this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. And I know there's some jobs perhaps that it's still a challenge for, which I respect, but I think that there's a huge number of jobs now which these machines are fine for. And there are differences of jobs. I do think it's a really good idea if we could get a round table of some sort with people with these different opinions and find out how many of these things could be solved with the machines. Just spitballing, the idea that if you license people and you have out-of-towners violating rules, maybe the fees from them could help pay for the people who live here to get this equipment for areas where it could work, creatively thinking. We could all get what we want, which is the money for people who live here, who work in the businesses, keep the money in the community, be good for our economy. People like me, I have a feeling very quickly, the little part of the village where I live in, you could get rid of the gas stuff, because I think the lawns are all small enough. I'd be really happy, and a lot of us would be happy. And there'd be more money, and it would all stay in the village. So, I do think the urgency is pretty serious, and, the future is now for a lot of us. For some of these properties, I think we could do this now. And I do think this gas-powered leaf blower is uniquely awful, and without getting into it again about the pollution issue, which is a larger issue, this is really a nemesis for a lot of towns that are banning them. So I think it would be great to just take them out of play. But that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Don, though, had pointed out in a very direct way that we're so close on the electric, but we aren't quite there, particularly on the commercial use.
But that's not what he said at the town demonstration.
They indicated that the mowers and stuff, big ones worked fine, trimmers weren't so good, and the blowers worked fine on walkways, steps, driveways, that kind of thing. But if you have a damp day, they're tough to deal with.
Bogs down.
I must have a selective memory for what I wanted to say. Can I just say a quick comment?
You have to
to the
come-
podium, please.
My name's Michael Maschio. I live in South Hole, New York, and I work here in Southampton. Worked for Mahoney Associates for 9 years. And just real quickly, I think all of us are really based on the BMP, best management practices, with fertilizer, the changes in fertilizer, using electric and gas, and seeing the benefits for both. Just real quick, we have a client where we use one of the pieces of equipment, electric equipment, at leaf blower, and they just banned the electric leaf blower because he couldn't stand the sound. So these things are good, but I think when people are very sensitive to noise in general, you're going to get pushback on really any type of equipment. So this is just one specific situation, but I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Yep.
Richard Grotsky of Grotsky Mower Service. I demonstrated the electric equipment to the village a couple weeks ago. We have built it and they have come, and this is the bottom line here. A lot of this has nothing to do with the noise. It has to do with your neighbor's noise. The homeowner takes and goes to have their nails done on Thursday afternoon. Tomorrow, Somebody else is going to have their nails done on Friday afternoon. Their landscapers are coming on those different days. And so it's quiet in their households while they're having this all done. Okay? So this is what a lot of this is being, what the issue is here. Okay? So anyway, I sell and service Red Max backpack blowers. I've sold hundreds upon hundreds of them. Okay? I also sell the Greenworks electric battery-powered equipment that I demonstrated to the village. I don't understand how you can take and stop everyone from using the gas-powered equipment, because a lot of the clientele that I have don't understand that Southampton Press said, oh, you can't use this. WLNG says you can't use this. These people don't have a clue, so I don't understand how you're going to take and stop all this all at once.
Well, good point. We certainly aren't going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these people they're not going to have a clue, so you can send ordinance people around on a, all day long, and these people are not going to understand it.
But I think your point is, the woman goes out and has her nails done because she knows the landscaper's coming and she doesn't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
And then the next door neighbor knows their landscaper's coming on Friday and she doesn't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
So they leave, but the other neighbors don't know, and they're listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other problem is, on the smaller lots especially, you'll have a landscaper who'll pull his truck up, and he has enough people on there that they start this house, and they're at this house, and they're at this house, and then they go to this house, because they have 4 jobs that they have contracts with to do that whole neighborhood. And so for 2 hours, people are listening to constant noise for 2 hours on a little street where the lots are probably 75 wide by 150.
Yep.
And that goes on for hours because they have those jobs and they're doing them. And sometimes they're doing them 2 lots at a time. So it's double the noise for everybody else around it. We've heard it because they've come in and complained.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
But Richie, who was one of your first customers for an electric blower?
Mark Analetti.
And I'm hearing that your clients and the clients in the village...
You only came in after we did the demo.
Oh.
She came in and got one.
But you have clients who are asking for it. And,
Yeah.
there's going to be a gradual shift. It's not going to be overnight. But my neighbor has 2 people come. I live in the same neighborhood as Orson does, and on very small properties, and it's like Black Hawk helicopters over my head all day long. And I will tell you, my neighbor's contractors now use the electric blower that I bought from you, and they're fine with it.
But the electric blowers
Yeah.
do not have, I mean, I'm selling them, but the electric blowers do not have the power and to do the same job as the gas-powered ones do. So now you're going to take and you're really going in reverse, because you're going back to broom. Because from the power of the gas-powered blower, that I can send a man out and have a job done in 15 minutes, we're going down to the same job in an hour and a half. It is.
No, it's not.
Okay, it's the power is not there.
The power I hear, and I'm not an expert, and this is why we need another dialogue, and Dave, you had suggested this, and others, a dialogue of when do we really need a gas leaf blower? Because I'm hearing that when it's wet, after a storm, after large rain events, you need it. But most of the people we're seeing around the village are just blowing little things here and there, fuzzballs, back and forth for an hour at end. And they're also blowing a lot of debris onto our village streets. So our DPW guys have just gone and cleaned it all up, and now people come in and mess it all up. So I don't know the answer. All I'm saying is we need a roundtable. Licensing is good. Education both for landscapers and homeowners, but we also need a mindset that we need to shift, especially in the summer months, because that's when most of you enjoy it here. And unless there's a big rainstorm, which is what the town uses as an out in their green zones, they say if we have a huge rainstorm, then we get to use our gas-powered blowers. Other than that, they use electric. So I don't know, maybe they're not
The
telling.
village does the same.
Right, but we can do the same too in our residences, can we not?
The village uses the battery pack in the downtown area where...
I run through the village every morning.
I know they're using blowers. They're using blowers early in the morning.
Yeah, but I watch and
it's wet,
I see what the Parks Department does. And when things get too much, they're out there first thing in the morning. And I've often said it, that if I lived in one of those apartments upstairs in over the business district, I would throw something out there when they were...
I see them too, they're using electric blowers to blow the debris off the sidewalk into the streets.
No, I know that, but
and people
it
do come to
echoes. It
expect that.
echoes.
I get that, but that's what's going on in the mornings, and it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And there are people complaining because they demand that cleanliness. There's, like we said, we're a victim of our own success, build it, all what you just said before. Again, what the hell do we do to mitigate that? Like, again, I don't believe it's necessary to blow the crap off a guy's apron, but everybody's doing it. Is there a way that you tell, like, I mean, how do, self-governing, self-policing, like the mayor said, not mandating. I don't want to mandate. I don't want to force people to do so. I hate doing that. But if that's the direction that the industry is going because the change in demographics or the people or the clients demand that, then somebody's got to shift that. And where do we go with that? How does it get shifted? How do I get a worker to stop using 4 blowers to needlessly use
Honestly,
a blower?
you're not. You're really not.
Okay.
Unless you ban them.
Yeah, then... So we just give up.
And that's where, as you can see, this isn't a new discussion with blowers. We've been talking about this for years, and here we are.
And I'm going to sell blowers one way or the other. I'm going to sell blowers. I'm going to sell gas-powered blowers. Or I'm going to sell electric blowers.
Right.
So it means nothing to me as far as which one I'm selling. But I understand how the landscaper is thinking.
Correct. As do I. And again, but as legislators, we've got a room half and half, filled with people who want and people who don't. Once again, where do we go?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to cut it off because we just could keep going back and forth here.
Jamie.
Or Jamie.
Yeah.
Say a couple of things. Hey, Jamie Banks, Quiet Communities. I just have a couple of high-level comments. First of all, I'm really pleased to hear that people want to collaborate. We're in a time where technology is improving, and in a lot of applications it's not quite there yet, but it's good for a lot of things, I think, as one of the residents mentioned, and certainly starting this process would be very good for the village and help people get adjusted to a whole different technology where there is learning that needs to happen. I wanted to say that there are 170 towns and cities in the United States that do have some form of restriction. There's a reason. The way that these machines are used is out of compliance with any industry guidelines that have been put out there to try to educate people on not using them to blow dust, to not use more than one at a time, to only use them at half throttle or low throttle in residential neighborhoods. And you go around towns in a lot of places and you see them used out of compliance all the time. So, how do you change the behavior of an entire industry? It's very, very difficult. With regard to electric blowers, The most powerful right now are 700 CFM as opposed to perhaps 900 and more CFM for the gas. I'm not a landscaper, but I know that 600, 700 CFM was a standard a number of years ago. It was good enough to blow properties at that time. The other thing about them is that the quality of the sound between gas and electric is very different. The gas blowers, even at the same decibel level, have a low frequency component that allow that sound to travel over longer distances and to penetrate the windows of homes. And this is why people find it so uniquely distressing. This was found by a Finnish group back in the early 2000s. We published a study with a researcher from Harvard School of Public Health, really finding the same thing with gas blowers. And then recently had a group in Washington fund a study that a large design and engineering firm did. They sent up acoustic engineers, compared 7 models, 3 gas power blowers, 4 electric blowers, commercial grade blowers, and these were the Red Max, the very powerful ones, a powerful steel, and then also a so-called quiet blower at 65 decibels. So that with the electric, that are a lot of them are at that level, you can say, is the quality of sound the same given the same decibel rating? And what we found is that it isn't. You still have this low frequency component carrying loud noise over much longer distances. And if you think of an area of land, the impact on a community from that blower is going to be much greater in terms of the number of homes and people affected for gas than it is for electric. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'll just tell you a really funny thing I saw with 2 guys with a set of leaf blowers. It was one of the snowstorms we had, and they were in Flanders. And these 2 guys were working so hard to blow their driveway out of the snow with these 2 leaf blowers, and you wouldn't believe the amount of snow that was on top of them. All it was going up in the air. It was, when I went by them, I stopped and I go, God, I should take a picture. It was just classic. I still think about it. It was pretty funny.
So they weren't shoveling, they were blowing?
They were blowing the snow, yeah, with 2 of them walking back and forth. It was great.
Did they have a license?
Not sure about Flanders.
I know we want to keep moving this along, but my name is Mark Antoletti. My family has been landscaping in this town since the 30s. I cut my first lawn in 1972, and I want to show my appreciation for those who are concerned about what has changed in this town, in this village. But I think one of the things, and I did buy the gas blowers. I was at the village demonstration for the lawnmower, and I know it's the future. I have a son coming back to be the 4th generation of my business. But we got to remember, when I was a child, we took care of estates south of Hill Street, and everybody north of Hill Street was a shopkeeper, they were a carpenter, they didn't have hedges, they mowed their own lawn,
That's true.
and they were all those things. Now, we have nice little neighborhoods north of Hill Street that have been allowed to build 3,000 square foot houses that are corner to corner, front to back. Everyone landscaped them, everyone's hiring landscapers. Look, we are a heavyweight in this community. We fill the delis, we fill the repair shops, we fill everything. We pay all the fees, we pay all the tickets we get for the trailers that are missing a tail light. Look, we are here to listen, we're here to be part of it. But like Don so eloquently said, there's a lot of people out there, and there are people probably in this room that use people who are not licensed. And I don't know how many times I've met a new client or someone comes to me to give them a price, and they say, well, what's it going to cost to cut my grass? No, it's going to be $100, $125. You're here 20 minutes. I show up with $150,000 worth of insured equipment that is going to be run by employees that are being paid
a livable wage. Maybe they don't get to live in a fancy village neighborhood, but they have to sit in traffic for 2 hours a day to get out here, and I have to pay these men a good wage. So when you tack on the wage, when you tack on the equipment, when you tack on the insurance, when you tack on all the things we have to pay for, where you guys are going is a slippery slope. So think carefully before you do anything. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. But, you know, I just want to close it saying that you guys have brought out a lot of good done. Thank you, and thank all of you for being here. Obviously, we need to go back to the drawing board and take a look at, careful look at licensing and figure out why did we drop it years ago. And then if we can take a look at some education, and if we can rely on all of you guys that are landscaping in the village to pay attention to some of the issues and pay attention to your employees and the two guys standing out on the street just blowing like crazy at nothing, it would really be appreciated. Yep.
I'm sorry for dragging this out. My name is Jackson Dodds of Jackson Dodds and Company, local landscape tree company. Everyone is right on. This has been the best meeting that I've come to in a long time, and it's a hard decision. I can say from my experience for the last 3 years, we've been using Mean Green electric products, and they are commercially formidable. The technology is here, the future is here, and I see this as an opportunity to put us in a different level. This is Southampton Village. It's known throughout the world, and it's an opportunity to set the guidelines to take it to the next level, and at the same time, work on our competition, those unlicensed ones, because those are the ones that are keeping the education down. They're the ones that are cutting corners. They're the ones that are facilitating the uber wealthy to get around paying any real expenses for uneducated employees. There is a science to landscaping, to lawn care, and if we want to continue to work harder and not smarter, we'll stay doing the same thing and expect different results. If we want to take it to the next level, hey, listen, I didn't want to get a cell phone. It was like 10 years of cell phones before I actually bought into it because I didn't think my big fingers could work those little phones. But without the cell phone today, I mean, it catapulted our careers and our business and gave us a cutting edge. But without the enforcement, without the education, use that income from the enforcement for education. I sit on the board. I'm a past president of Long Island Arborists Association. I work with national organizations for training. People want to train. They want to bring everyone up and improve the community. And you have the greatest group of guys out here. This is the all-star team of Southampton Village. So it's not this room, but it's a group effort, like you said, and we're all willing to help.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
One last thing? What we're here to do, so.
Bill Cullen from Cutting Edge. I'd like to say Mr. Screpsey hit the nail on the head earlier, and Don as well. With training, people weed whack and blow the patios first, and then collect all of the grass. It's a much better process. However, the town of Southampton right now is shutting down all of our dumping facilities. So if we're not going to be able to dump grass clippings, leaf blowing is going to be a lot worse in the future. And the second point I would just like to make that I know you guys all can't see and some of the other members here is that the hallway is filled with people as well. So I just wanted to make those 2 quick points. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move ahead. All right. Thank you all.
Watch the room clear.
Thanks, everybody.
You don't want to stay?
Showing up. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Pat. Thank
Can't
you.
believe I didn't speak.
We can't either.
You shut me down.
I did.
Okay? We had you change in the chair, that's all.
You could stay and speak later.
Leaf blower.
Sorry, it's a battery-powered one.
I thought someone was going to use that as a presentation. To put the blower.
No blower presentation
Thought
is
that was the
probably
idea.
good.
Yeah.
To do that sooner.
All right, I'll let them move her down a bit. No, we're still open for public hearing. Next item on the agenda is public hearings, in which case we have the deer fence law, which is still open. So I'll make a motion to open the deer fence law.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Is there any comments from the public on?
There we go. We're in a bit.
Good evening, board members. Katerina Grinkov, 2 Latham, 51 Hill Street, still on behalf of Whitefield Condominium. I've submitted a letter just reiterating the condominium support for the law. I don't want to repeat all the points I've made in the past. There is no need for it, but just 2 points. One, we did look into other jurisdictions within on the East End and did find out that Village of North Haven and Town of East Hampton, they do have deer fence application process in place, just something for your consideration. And the condominium, they're concerned with the deer management program and how effective it will be, the time frame. So those are still open questions for them. So they would like to see the fence law enacted in conjunction with the deer management program, if that's something this board might consider. That's it, very short. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, that's, what you have commented on is the direction we're going with, because you can't have one without the other. And so we're looking at the deer management, which the council has looked at the local law and the local law in the village on firearm discharges and such, and there's some things he needs to change in here, and the same thing with the deer fence law. So we are working.
Can you briefly summarize the deer fence law, since I'm sort of new to this topic here and the agenda?
Sure. The deer fence law, in summary, is basically would allow the installation of 8-foot fences to be screened with vegetation, with hedges and so forth, so they can't be seen.
Thank you.
Yep.
But it was my understanding when we had the presentation that it was suggested that we not do the 8-foot fence until we thin the herd.
Correct.
Because basically, if we put up the 8-foot fencing, or people put up the 8-foot fencing, it forces the deer to the road and to other properties. And what we want to do is eliminate as many deer as we possibly can, and then add the fencing in addition. Is that what we're trying to do?
We're trying to do both
Yes.
at once, really, and which is what was indicated earlier.
So my next question is that we've had the presentation. What's our next step? I mean, I would like to be able to have some sort of a contract with the person that came to speak with us, I can't remember his name.
Michael.
Michael. And whether or not, and then really notify the public so that the public can notify him so that, we'll have property owners also being able to utilize his service. But we have a lot of properties that are park properties, that are community preservation properties, that I think they could be working on those as well, and that would be through us. So I would like to be able to move forward with either some sort of a contract with them and some sort of date so that we have something on the calendar.
No, that's a good point. With he hunts during the regular season, which
Right.
starts in October, so we're
Yeah, but he'll have a lot of people on his calendar. We need to nail him down.
He does, but he also, you don't hire him directly. The property owners hire him.
Yes, but when it comes to what I just said, when it comes to...
The public lands, yes, we can.
And that's what I want to do. I want to, and even if we do that first, and we get them in here to start to hunt or whatever they're doing on the community preservation properties and on the properties that the village owns, through that, other people will also be aware of the fact that we're doing this, and they're more likely to commit to that because we're doing something. I truly believe that.
I think you're right, Nancy.
Well, the first step is we got to change the discharge setback laws. So is Wayne looking into that? Or, I mean,
Wayne
where are we with
is
that?
looking into that, and he's looking into how to write the rules so you don't open the entire village for hunting. You'd really have a disaster on your hands. So.
I believe that's the modification that he has there.
He has some modifications in here yet, which we need to all review and come back with some ideas.
Oh, okay.
Any other comments? Sure.
I'm Dave Rayner, 49 Breeze Lane. I'm like this other gentleman, I'm late on this one. But I talked to some of my clients. One is from actually Sweden, and they use contraceptive. They'll put food out with a contraceptive in it, and that way you're eliminating that without this, the shooting and all that stuff. But I don't know if that's been thought about or talked about. I know I'm late on this game, but it's an idea.
No, we've thought about it. My objection to using contraceptives is that they're non-selective. In other words, you end up with other...
Sure. I didn't know that.
Other animals or
yeah, of course.
And the other thing is, I think North Haven used it, and it wasn't as successful as they thought it would be.
Yeah. And there's a third factor of it, is it taints the meat, and you can't use the meat then.
What? Three good reasons.
Yeah.
And costly, very costly,
Very
too.
costly.
So there, yeah, thanks.
But it is something we've looked at. Yes?
I could tell you
Just
that...
your name and address for your record.
Ken Weinstein, 111 Fox Hollow. I could tell you that the property right across the street on Moses, the village acquired recently, is a veritable, zoo
That's
for
one of
deer.
what I'm talking about.
And you own that. I think if you fence it in, you'd solve some of the problem, right away.
Well, not really, because we're either going to have to fence them in there, or we're going to force them out of there. And more than likely, we're going to force them out of there, and guess where they're going?
They're already in my front
I know.
yard.
You're gonna have more.
Already
But
in
there'll
my
be
yard.
more. There will be
And
more.
I have a 6-foot fence, and they jump over that like high hurdles.
You would have more, because that would
Would have
actually,
more,
that's
and
their
that's the
haven, that's their
problem.
one haven to go to.
Well, you
It
also
would be
have
fencing
5
them.
behind the library. We sort of go in that
But that's
swale.
it, that's the whole, you just brought up the whole argument to fencing, because once you put one up, it does two things. It may keep whatever is there in, but the adverse effects is that it actually prevents from whatever used to be there from entering it, which now is displacing it to, well, perhaps
Well,
what
but
you want.
long-term denial of habitat tends to reduce populations. I used to have wild turkeys in my yard. I haven't seen wild turkeys probably in 10 years in my property. So,
Back now.
Hmm?
They're back now.
Not near,
Well, maybe
not near me.
They've
dropped way down.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be...
Used to have them, and now I'll see one.
Right,
No
exactly.
more chicks, no nothing. I don't know if the hawks or the foxes or who the hell's...
It was those errant shots of yours that, took them out.
Pheasants all over this village.
Yeah, you don't see the
No
pheasant
more.
anymore. Well, for a long time, there weren't turkeys, and then somebody reintroduced them, and they're back.
Yeah.
I see them all around, like Seven Ponds, Town Road, I see them all up in that area.
Well, that's,
Along Sunrise Highway in West Hampton.
Yeah.
well, that's one of the reasons that we're looking to cull the herd as opposed to use other methods which are really eradicating a herd. And I'm not in a position to push that. I'm more in a position to bring what we have around us into a manageable,
Yeah.
group.
I mean, what did he say when, was it West Hampton that hired him in, I think, the first year?
Remsenburg.
Remsenburg, and that was less than 3.5 square miles. And I think he said in the first year, they were able to eliminate 250. I mean, we're less than 7 square miles. I would be shocked if they did not get at least 400. I mean, there are so many deer.
That many? Wow.
Oh, there are so many deer all over the place. Well, if in less than 3.5 miles they got 250, we're 7 square miles. I mean, they're all over the place.
Cooper's Farm Road, I look out every day, and there's 5 of them out there, and so I know there's lots of them around, but
Yeah.
you get up into the hundreds, wow.
Yeah. Scary.
Any other comments? Board members or anybody? Yep.
I just have a question. And there are areas such as the school, the elementary school, the high school, that aren't necessarily fenced where these deer hang out. So how are you ever going to, I was here at when he made the presentation, and I also understood as far as the small lots, some of them are 150 feet, all around Walnut, Cameron. There are a lot of them I don't think that are 150 feet. So how are you going to handle that?
Well, a lot of the culling will force, those aren't prime habitats for those deer. They've been pushed in there. They certainly don't want to be in a school with a bunch of kids.
They're all over the school.
Yeah, I know they are, but they'll move out as the population starts to go down in other areas.
It's not going to be a refuge for them. The smaller lots won't be their refuge.
Right.
Okay.
That's the theory, we're sticking to it.
Any other comments? With that said, I would like to keep the public hearing open on the deer fence law, so the next meeting is
13th.
Okay, 13th, so I will make a motion to adjourn the deer fence law for all purposes until the 13th.
Second?
Favor?
Communications to the board.
Okay, I have one from 24/7 Emergency Care. For the past 14 years, the Emergency Department has been holding a post-Labor Day gathering for the employees and family at Cooper's Beach. We would like to do this again on Wednesday, September 12th, 2018. It is dinner from 6 to 10 p.m., attended by approximately 70 people. The event will be catered by Catinas. We will be providing insurance certificates to indemnify Southampton Village of any responsibilities. In the past, we have paid a village employee to come after the party to clean the bathrooms. We will be happy to do that again. We would be honored to have you as our guest. Sincerely, Darren Wiggins.
We've done this every year.
Yeah, I think we have, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the one group we do it for.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion to accept the 24/7 Emergency Care PC at Cooper's Beach on
Second.
9/12/2018.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, resolutions. Item 1, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of August 9th, 2018 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator. The actions taken in that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Okay.
Item 2, resolved that the claims for the warrants dated August 21st, 2018 totaling $470,553.94, warrant 6 general fund, and the village payroll through August 16th, 2018 be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, discussion. My fault. Alliance System Integrators Fire Detection at the Fire Department, $3,585. Alpine Software Corp., Fire Department Red Alert Software Support, $12,497.76. Arrow International Ambulance Medical Supplies, $2,1050. Dawn Marketing Summer Newsletter, $2,000. Business Card Services PD Training Seminar, $1,010.81. Buzz Chew Chevrolet Olds Garage Parts, $1,411.75. Page 2, CC Electronics and installation of a siren and speaker for a fire department chief vehicle, $1,150.80. Chief equipment, mower tires, $1,292.20. Chief supply, fire department equipment, $3,673.21. Cintas First Aid and Safety, supplying first aid supplies for fire department ambulance, $1,222.50. Coastal Fire Systems, fire department rope and rigging equipment, $3,546. Corwith's Auto Body towing fees, $1,550. Page 3, Edward Armist Engineering, loft reinforcing at the DPW garage, $2,160. Four-Star Refrigeration, Fire Department Refrigeration and Ice Machine Servicing, $2,978. Island Tech Services, Fire Department Computer Software Support, $14,802. Kyocera Document Solutions, PD Copier Lease, $1,044.04. Page 4, Messiano Consulting, Grant Writing Services through July, $4,162.50. More Medical, Ambulance Supplies, Medical Supplies, $1,934.79. Norsick and Sons, Carting and Septic Service, $1,814.71. New York State Health Insurance for September, $345,114.48. Page 5, Perma Workers' Comp Audit Settlement, $5,310.56. PSE&G Services for July, $6,834.07. Page 8, Pursuit Auto Emergency K-9 Vehicle Modifications, $1,070.26. SACs reimbursing for half the gallery lights, $23,750. Page 7, Suffolk County Vocational Education Fire Department Training Supplies, $1,320. Suffolk County Water Authority for July, $2,682.56. Vince Toomey Legal Fees for July, $1,264.81. Page 7, going to page 8, Verizon phone bills and Verizon Wireless, both for July, $3,987.25 and $1,548. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Item 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the notice of resignation from Ryan Gilly from the Parks Department effective August 14, 2018. Can I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of Raymond Sweeney as a lifeguard at Cooper's Beach for the 2018 season at an hourly rate of $13.50. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 2 quick discussion items. Application by Albert Goodman for Dune Beach Wedding on September 22nd, 2018, from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., 120 people attending, and it will be bus transportation and catered.
Anything out of the ordinary on it?
I'm sorry?
Anything out of the ordinary on it? Standard?
Only because of the amount of people.
Because of the size?
Right,
it has to
anything
come
over 100.
He's going to have a tent, is it?
It says a tent
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Let me see.
down here.
Oh,
It
yeah.
says tent or structure, so maybe it's...
Yeah, tent,
So basically what happens with that? They go down and they put up that tent during the day, correct?
Yeah.
And what size tent is it?
I don't know on this one.
Kind of curious, because I mean, basically it's taking a village beach and turning it into their event the whole day if they're putting up a tent.
Yeah, it does.
I can probably speak to that, as I'm Albert Goodman.
Okay, I'm glad you're here.
There's a village code that restricts the size of the tent, and it's for a smaller, one size smaller tent than the maximum size. I think it's 45 by 65, for just based on the number of people, 120, 121 guests.
Are you getting married?
I am.
Congratulations.
Yeah, because we don't allow, just like the ones we use when we have the different, they're all the same. We don't use them for like rain covers, just for like basically shade.
Right. That's the only beach that they're stipulated for.
And the only other thing I want to say is you're until 1 a.m. our laws allow for music until 11.
The 11 o'clock is when the DJ will be done. There's just going to be a
Okay.
bonfire afterwards, so.
Okay, good, yeah. Because I thought if you played music until 1, I know the neighbors next
Right.
door will not be happy.
Exactly. No, 11 o'clock is the shut off for the DJ.
Great. Sounds wonderful. Perfect.
All right, well, thank you.
Make a motion.
Thank you
I make a motion.
thank you for being here.
Second,
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
wishing you all the
Thank you.
best.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
Best of luck.
Best of luck on your impending good fortune.
Okay, the next one is, Mike, Joe Prokoff, and myself have been working on the Cablevision franchise renewal agreement, which we've kind of narrowed out all the kinks, and we just need to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for September 13th.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Comments from the board members. Trustee Yuzgrensky.
Just two quickly. One, I want to thank everybody who showed up for the leaf blower discussion. Filled room as anticipated, but that's good. That's what we need. We need up here, the impact and the feedback. So thank you for everyone who showed up on all sides of that. And I also want to recognize that the newly hired lifeguard that we just made a resolution for, sitting in the back corner there with his mom. But the reason he's here was not just to hear his name called out, but as we routinely see, and my son has done it as well, is he's a Boy Scout, and he's here as a requirement to listen to the governmental process. So it's always nice to see a scout in the crowd and doing their civic duty and listening to what we have to say up here. So I hope it was of value for you.
It was a good meeting. We had a lot of people.
Actually, yeah, you hit a
We
good one.
normally don't have this many, so this is a good lesson.
Yep.
We're wondering if it's like this all the time.
No, you hit a good one. So good luck with that. Good to see you fulfilling that scout requirement, and welcome aboard as our lifeguard. That's all I got.
Trustee Allen.
I, too, want to thank everyone who came today and for their very sincere desire to have a meaningful and collaborative dialogue. It's such a good start, and I know everyone wants to listen and help and come up with good solutions. And I see Mr. Rayner in the audience, and I'm going to put you on the spot because you said, I'd love to have a roundtable with a couple of folks. And so I ask that whatever we can do to help you do that, I'd really appreciate that.
Mr.
Just
Reed.
educational in any sense of the word. I was going to speak, but there's so many, it's up to management. When somebody mentioned you should have some management on the trucks, that's where it starts. And education. And
So policing and education.
I yell at my guys enough to try to train them, not to, exactly what we talked about. So I really appreciate this meeting, and I really appreciate Ms. Allen reaching out to me and a round table just to get it out there, what goes on, what we can do. Public hearings are great, but as you know, as I said, it's just his word against our word. Nothing gets really, you can tear it out, you know it, but what it would take from it, you know. So,
How can we make that happen? Just to ask this board, I mean, can we give up the room here and a few dates are
absolutely.
proposed and then you can come and,
That'd be a good thing.
yeah.
because some people are sitting in the audience that are in the field, and even the homeowners they might be a little shy to speak out and
Typically, you're right. So if you put them in an enclosed area, it's a closed session, it's a little easier for them to.
you got to hear from everybody.
Absolutely.
We had quite a group, a core group, and you all know that. So, and but something like that, just to feel comfortable with that. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do that. Anything else?
Nope.
Trustee McGahn.
Well, no, I'd like to thank everyone, too. It was a good meeting. I think all of us are experiencing change. A lot of change is coming, and it's difficult to go through all of that. And I loved when Mr. Analetti got up and said, you know, you have to realize that north of Hill Street, and I've thought about this for a long time, has changed. It's not just about the big houses that are going up, but it's about a change of ownership. A lot of the people who lived here, who worked here, who taught here, who you know, really made their livelihood and who lived in the village, those people are gone, and we have second homeowners now who really don't want to mow their lawn or landscape their properties or take care of their properties. They hire someone. And let's face it, everyone puts in a hedge now. So almost every property has hedge trimmers going during the day all over this entire village. So that has all changed, and we're all feeling that. And you know, I think the reason why battery-operated equipment has come out is because of all of this. And I know one man said, I don't want to leave, but it's almost making me leave. And I'm thinking, and where are you going to go? Because if you go to Roslyn, it's the same in Roslyn. If you go anywhere on Long Island, you're going to hear it because it's happening everywhere. So I do think limiting the period of time, and we do have limits now. I mean, most of our workers can't start until 8 o'clock in the morning. I think we're from 8 during the week, 8 to 7 at night. Maybe we have to make that earlier than 7. And, you know, on the weekends, they're allowed at 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock, but, you know, and nothing on Sunday, but homeowners are allowed to use their equipment on Sunday. So there is this ongoing equipment noise. But I do like the dialogue, and I think we will make some changes, and I think licensing is a really, really good and important part of it. We have to get on to that. Yeah. Yeah.
If you had this round...
Charlie may want you to come up here.
Dave Rayner, 49 Breeze Lane. If you have a meeting with the professionals or the commercial end of it, they can tell you their limitations and what they can really put out. Like,
Right.
I was talking, I know to Kim, and I know that what I can do, like, am I just blowing the walks and sidewalks off? That's fine. But, you know, in the fall time, as we know. So there is stuff that we can tell you exactly what we can do without, you know, totally eliminating it and getting everybody upset. But I know what I can do. I've done it for 30 years. You all know my history. And I have 10, 12 employees, and I'm educating them all the time about the half throttle and everything. So we can, the time frame that we need to get our work done seasonally, I can tell you all that. You know, that might help, knowing what our parameters. So
It's a good point.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's a good
really
idea.
good point,
That's
Dave.
the whole point of the dialogue, is that we can share that.
Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hattrick.
Just one short thing. The best part of the meeting tonight was having Mr. Rayner in the audience and reminding me of his father, who was a great basketball player when Riverhead and West Hampton used to duke it out every year. And I remember him so clearly. And I can't remember very many things, but I do remember him, and he was hot stuff and a great player. That's about 70 years ago. So.
And he had a great sense of humor, just like you.
Okay.
And he was very quiet.
Mama's going, actually.
Yes, you are.
It's okay. I like that.
Can be good.
Moms like that, yeah, right.
Patsy's boy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Hattrick. A couple of things here on a very sad note. Kim Wines passed away Saturday. And the Wines are such an important aspect to the village of Southampton. And so my heart goes out to Buddy and his family. You know, and I look back, and the senior, like your dad, you know, was mayor in 1979, and he was mayor to 1985. And Buddy's been a huge asset to the fire department. And over the years, they all have given so much back to the village of Southampton. It really, we need to thank them all. And with that said, there's a couple of other events, and, all our hearts go out to them. This Friday, August 24th, the Rogers Memorial Library will host a pop-up at Cooper's Beach. Do we know what a pop-up is?
Library.
It's a pop-up library.
Okay.
With books available, and I think
It's not
they'll
pop-up
do some little programs as well.
Older
They
than
do
me.
readings, so they'll have 40 children's readings. And they can get free library books. Free books.
Great. We like that word.
We have so many pop-up stores. You gotta be a
Right.
little careful
They do
with
have a
that
pop-up
term.
tent. So they have a library tent.
And then Saturday, 4 to 5:30, Southampton Village will join with the town of Southampton to present the 5th Annual Kids Beachcomber Cleanup Contest.
What day
Great
is that?
thing. That's on Saturday.
This coming Saturday?
This Saturday, 4 o'clock, at Cooper's Beach. Obviously, all kids are welcome. They have a great format, and they send them out, and I think they even have prizes, don't they?
They do, they have prizes, and the kids decorate little bags to go clean up, and then they walk the beach and pick up trash or any garbage, and then they get prizes for, I guess, whoever picks up the most, or something.
Garbage there.
They can attack those,
Full Saturday, still
full
in full swing.
Saturday, yeah.
they
Beautiful
can
weather,
attack
so.
those Mylar balloons. And then next Saturday, September 1st, is the annual Labor Day weekend sandcastle contest at Cooper's Beach. I think you did that last year with me.
Great.
Sign-up begins at 12, and judging takes place at 3.
Lots of great donations, Julie mentioned.
There are some wonderful prizes donated by the village merchants.
And Matt Weeks has been
It's been fabulous. It
Yeah.
started very early.
That's really something, if somebody has the time, they should go take a look, because some of the sandcastles are pretty spectacular. They do an unbelievable job. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's like the Met of art.
There's a lot of good stuff.
And there's prizes for even the 3-year-olds, all the way up to the families
Yeah.
that come every year.
Yeah, there's some families that every year just, that's their thing. And then always on Sunday, the Chamber of Commerce Farmers Market on the east side of the grounds at 25 Jobs from 9 to 2. Great place to get local produce, baked goods, crafts to enjoy. Really something worth checking out.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I don't know if you folks know, it's very important to the village. Morris Studio has an ongoing thing at the museum, and I guess when they closed, I was talking to Mary, and they found boxes of pictures, and they restored them. And I haven't gone yet. I'm waiting for my sister and my mother to get together. We're going to go together, but that's got to be an amazing show.
It started Saturday. They had the opening on Saturday.
Good.
Yeah.
So I just hope
They're
everybody knows
glass
about that.
negatives, and they're printing. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up, because that is, the artwork is spectacular. You've been there, haven't you?
I wasn't, because Saturday was the wedding that I was at, so I couldn't go on Saturday, but I will go over there.
Yep.
Can't wait to go over there, actually. Can't wait to see it.
We're going tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah.
Good.
My sister arrives tonight. She's out from Colorado visiting for a week, so once we go, I hope that things will see. Something good. Let's see
Fire,
pictures of
do
you.
we have a meeting for the fire department? Is there anything
I think so, yeah. Yep. And with that, second public comment? Anybody would like to make a comment? No extra points? With no further comments, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
All right, you second.